2, 1, 7. Hey everybody, it's me, Jesse Lewis. I want to welcome you back to the Jesse Lewis Show. And today I have none other than magician Brian Glow, based out of Winnipeg, right, Brian?
I am here, as if by magic. Hey Jesse, thanks for having me. It is great to see you and connect with your great audience.
Well, all 7 of them, right? The truth is this is what we have for now as entertainers. And you know, Brian, we're going to do some weird stuff today. Nothing crazy, but the first question, I know everybody wants to ask this question. So what is your favorite type of dinosaur?
Oh, let's see. I got to go with raptor or T-Rex. I mean,
okay.
I got to go with the blood.
Okay, and specifically for that reason, just because they can rip a person to shreds or rip whatever.
If you're going to be an apex predator, that's I'll be there. Thanks.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. And I would assume your least favorite is like the Dilophosaurus or whatever that eats plants and all the rest of it.
Yeah, any of the little crawly guys. Although I'm a semi-vegetarian, so I got to be careful what I say.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So now that that's out of the way, you've been a magician for a long time in Western Canada, the North, and from what I remember, we've talked in the past, not in this format, but I remember you used to do some movie stuff in the U.S. too, right?
Yeah, I've been doing magic. I started around 1966. It was my very first show when I was about 8 years old for my own birthday party. I started around 65, learning how to do little tricks and things, because I started by watching magicians on TV, of course. And in our house, Ed Sullivan was religion. And it was a variety show, for those who don't know, and it had all the top acts in the world. If you got onto that show, you were big. Like the Beatles got on there, the Rolling Stone for the music acts, and they had magicians from all over the world, and they were fantastic. And they made me laugh, and I would start trying to do tricks. And of course, my mom finally took pity on me because I didn't know how it was done. And in Winnipeg, where I live, the new West Kildonan Library had just opened up, and we were there. And my mom was an avid reader, which meant we were avid readers. And the first book, they only had 2 books on magic, and one was a biography of Houdini, which was quite good and written for kids. And another one was a kid's magic book called Magic of the World by John Mulholland. I think it was John Mulholland. And it was a fabulous book. That was my first show. Every single trick in that book was the show. And coincidentally, each trick was from a different country, hence the title. So that made a big impact on me. Even now, I have to tell you, it's been wonderful, because I travel to, right now, about 45 countries fairly regularly around the world doing shows. And to see where magic has come from, and to use magic and illusions that have come from those regions, it hits home. It's unbelievable.
Well, there's something to be said. Now, magic, in the sense that you're talking about, obviously isn't shamanism and stuff like that, but there is that esoteric feel when it comes from the country that you're performing it in, right? There's it sounds all airy-fairy, but there's a unspoken connection between the thought processes that certain peoples had when it was first made, correct?
Magic goes back to shamanism. I mean, the first medicine men were the shaman, the one who tribal chiefs didn't necessarily have all the control. It was the shamans and the people who could control and predict when crops would grow or weather would go or where the animals were tracking, what medicines, what plants worked. I mean, those were the people with true power. And things like ventriloquism, for instance, hypnotism, magic, those were the tools of the shamans. I mean, they utilized them to help get their message across, as it were.
Yep. And the truth is, we both know that they're still used today in certain aspects of our lives. We won't go there because it's about the stuff we're not supposed to talk about, right?
No, it's not. It's in all walks of life and in every country, including our own.
Well, magic and hypnosis and the esoteric is everywhere, whether we believe it or not. Yeah. So as we move on from that, the Mulholland Book of Magic, I actually have, not the one you're talking about, but I have a copy of his Book of Magic, and I use it for what's known as a two-person telepathy act. We're not going to get on that away, but I actually do that with my daughter, and it's one of the most effective acts that we have. Which she's only 10, and she was able to master this, so it's pretty cool. Mulholland is actually one of the best magic authors there is, in my opinion, and yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Bill Severn in those days, I mean, they were the guys who wrote specifically for young audiences, but as simple as the tricks were, and I use that term loosely because simple you can make something as complex or simple as you want. They could convey the message, teach the methods in such an easy way that you could accomplish the trick. And I hate the word trick, but you can make the simplest thing entertaining. But if you just consider it a trick, that's all it will ever be. You were just talking about shamans. I mean, you could take something as simple as taking a bit of dirt, put it in your hand, and open it up and have an onion or an orange. To the uninhibited, that is a miracle. To those who don't know, to those who are not privy to that knowledge, it truly can be a real miracle. So, and yet it was just to us, that's just a quick sleight of hand trick. But again, to the uninitiated, that's very powerful stuff.
That's exactly it. Now, speaking of power, I want to talk about what you do specifically in the North. We weren't going to cover this, but I'm going to cover this. So, in your show. And we're only supposed to do 10 minutes. We'll probably go over on this one, just so you know. But in your show, we were just talking about some of the shows you do up north in Nunavut and Northwest Territories and northern areas of the world. You do specifically a suicide messaging in your show, correct?
Anti-bullying and anti-suicide messaging, right. And I also do some workshops and one-on-ones, but normally I'm in the schools and I'm talking with the kids. And then we specifically break it down to kids at risk. And I'm using magic as the fun stuff to integrate the messaging so it becomes really memorable, indelible in their mind, so that we repeat a lot of stuff over and over again so that it sticks with people. And it is the messaging that psychiatrists and social workers and wellness workers and the principals want their kids to absorb, especially in the anti-bullying side, which is really my main expertise since 1978 or so. Okay,
so I want to tie that back in I had something pop in my head basically, and that's why I brought it up. We say that shamanism stuff isn't necessarily happening anymore, but realistically, what you're doing by incorporating that message into the magic, allowing that power to flow through you, whatever power that is, right? That is using that esoteric and shamanistic principle to give a message to people, which is pretty much what they did back in the olden days of shamanism, right? Where they did have that power.
They were the teachers of the community and tribes, and they were the knowledge base. If you needed to know something, whether it was what plant to use to heal something or how to do a specific task, they were the keepers of the knowledge. So yes, absolutely, and the most respected person in the entire community, and still are.
Yep, for many communities, specifically communities that we're talking about right now, the further north ones where the elders are actually respected, not necessarily in the rest of the world, but there are communities where elders are respected. So you've traveled all over the world. We're going to get off that topic now. The one question I ask everybody is, what's the most embarrassing thing you've had either happen to you on stage or on the way to a performance?
Well, probably the most embarrassing one.
You don't have to be too detailed if you don't want to.
I think it was Boise, Idaho, during a fair. This is probably in the 80s, I'm saying. I was in an illusion where I got cut up into multiple pieces. Tubes were pushed through me, and then spikes were pushed through me. And then at the end, I was supposed to come out, and then a second person was going to come out. Well, we're in the midst of doing this, and a micro burst, which is a huge wind that happens, just a gust, but it can reach hurricane speeds, about 165 miles an hour, had come through whatever. And apparently this happens all the time. And we were on stage when this was happening, and the wall behind us, they had a wooden wall. It came pushed down because of the wind. But that same gust, I was in this rolling apparatus. And as the two assistants were off getting these spikes and tubes to push into me, they had done almost all of them. They were just finishing the last ones, and they were about to make the big reveal. Well, the wind pushed me off the stage and right flat down. So audience members picked up the trick and put it back on the stage. I was still inside. They pull out everything, and then we continued on.
Well,
that was pretty embarrassing, but I mean, it was an accident. It was not anything you could control, but I would say that in the embarrassment factor, that's about an 11.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Good story.
Yeah.
What do you do when something like that happens?
Because I was still conscious and not hurt, I was still packed in with all the spikes and the tubes that I couldn't move. I was okay. They picked me up. They pulled everything out. I come out, ta-da. The young lady comes out, goes, ta-da. And we carried on. We literally just carried on as if nothing happened. And I'm telling you, standing ovation. But it was hysterical. But that, I have to tell you, it was scary, embarrassing, and a lot of fun.
Well,
that's the fastest one that becomes memorable. I have many others.
That's a great story. So as entertainers, we always have that stuff happen, right? And it's just get through it. You never know when something like that obviously is not going to end up as part of your show full time. But sometimes it's those tiny little mistakes that end up. That's now a set piece in the show, right? So. Yeah.
It's why I videotape all my shows now, Jesse, because, since I could get a video camera with decades now, because some of the best lines are written by the audience, as you know. And it's like you're going through the show as, I've got to remember that. That was such a great line. Now I go to the videotape and I don't have to worry about it.
That's something I miss about. I'm going to be down till at least September, probably past Christmas, just because I have to have a specific audience size. Are you doing any virtual shows for people to see, or are you able to be hired? How do people contact you, I guess?
They can contact me through the website, through brianglow.com, or on Facebook. We're all over the place. We've just started off a fan page, which is just being released, but I've got probably 5,000 followers on the regular page, but I'm sure there's always room for one more. And you can tell where we're going in the world. But I'm like you. I need an audience. I need live audiences. I can do virtual shows. I'm not. I like getting a feedback. I like to hear applause and know people are having a good time. And to me, a virtual show is like watching TV. It's great, but it's gone. You can't elicit a ton of emotion when you're watching a TV screen, whereas a live show, you get feedback. You can have that laughter and that screaming back and forth. And there's a feedback between an audience and a performer. As you know, that's what gets a great performance, is the reactions from an audience. So my preference, of course, is to be live. Now, am I doing some virtual stuff? Yes, I'm doing some motivational meetings. I'm doing some teaching of magic. In fact, at some point in the very near future, I'm even launching a teaching course of magic, and as well as another course on how amateur entertainers can become professional entertainers. And that's been in the work for about a year, and that's almost ready to release now.
That's awesome. Other than that, I do have one last question. This is the final question. It's always the final question on my show.
Okay.
What have you done today to make yourself happy?
Oh, talk to you.
Oh, well, that's nice, but I want something real. Not this bold manure. I want something real. What have you done that you've actually been happy about?
I went to our house is being renovated, and I got a chance to see where everything is being put back in together on between Monday and Wednesday, which Monday's my birthday, so I'm very excited about that. And seeing the progress was I was filled with joy. I mean, these guys have been working very hard, and even through COVID. The painter will come in one day and the granite guy will come in another day.
It's at least getting something done, right? Well, everybody, you can hear my daughter in the background, can't you? So, Brian, I think we're going to end the interview. I want to thank you so much for being on. If anybody wants to talk to Brian, feel free to message him on, well, probably not message, but go on his Facebook page, follow him, do whatever, all that fan stuff. You know the deal. Like, share this video, and bye, Brian.
Bye, Jesse. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
And broadcast.